think we have given 2 or 3 minutes for people to connect. They're still connecting, but I think for the sake of everybody's time, it's time to start. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this first workshop of PANTERA, the PANTERA project, which is a coordination support action project of the Commission, which has this privilege today to have this workshop with you and share with you the activities and way forward with very important guests that we have today with us to support our work. And this work that we have today is supported by our very good colleagues, Stathis Pedeves, Michele Marasco, Nikos Hadjargiriou, Isabella Signe, Fernando Merida Martin, and Luciano Martini from our colleagues here within the consortium, who are going to help us in this workshop of today. Together with Christina and myself, we will manage this workshop running for you and for all of us in order to make sure that our messages come to you correctly and we hear from you, your response, your reaction to the questions that we will raise through interactive process that we have put together for you. Let's hope that everything works all right as we have planned, and in order to help us to get the response that we would like from you, and you being active enough to give us some feedback in order to help the roundtable discussions that we have today and give results back to all of us to think about and plan forward. So let's move on then. We will try to finish within time, as we have promised. We have an agenda which takes us up to about 5 o'clock this afternoon. I know we are in different parts of Europe, and so the 5 o'clock might not mean the same thing for everybody. 5 o'clock is what we normally call this time Central European Summer Time. And so in other words, we have 3 hours in front of us to complete what we have planned and hopefully useful and interesting for everybody. So for us today, we have, next slide please, Mohammed. Yes, of course, forgot to say that Mohammed is in the background, helping us all in this work, and he will say a few words about the system we have put together at the end of this introductory presentation that they have put together. We, as a coordination support action, we are a consortium that you see here in front of you is 9 partners coming from various parts of Europe. And we have a project that will last 48 months. And it is, and you will hear more today as to what are the objectives and what we are trying to do through the PANTERA process, as we call it. It started in 1st of January, and we are already 1.5 years forward with this project. And we are moving towards completing what we have promised through the project. Next slide, please. We all know that the vision for a clean planet by 2050 is very high in the agenda of Europe, and going climate neutral by 2050 is highly in the agenda for this, what we call the energy transition, meeting the climate change needs. So in this process, the smartening of the grid infrastructure has taken very rapidly on, nothing that we haven't seen the previous decades, but is moving, it was moving very slowly, but now we are seeing that faster investments are seeing in the transition of the network, and efforts spent in this direction are quite extensive, but as we have identified, and I think as through the evaluation that the Commission has done, is not in every country the same. So we are seeing different expenditures and different activities in various countries in Europe, and that is why the PANTERA Coordination Support Action is stepping in to raise awareness, participation, effectiveness, and full use of EU resources. And as a result, we are aiming to strengthen the involvement of the European industry and through that to share the benefits by all. So next slide, please. So this sustainable energy for all Europeans that we are aiming through this clean energy for all Europeans that is coming through the various directives put forward is aiming to ensure sustainable, secure and affordable energy supplies in the European Union, a fully integrated grid, and energy market that is really required in order to put this all in practice and being felt by everybody. Through integrated emerging technologies and common energy market rules facilitated through cross-border infrastructure that can optimize the use of sustainable resources in the EU, meaning that energy can be produced in one EU country, for example, and be delivered to consumers in another. So cooperation and collaboration are key in this process, and this is why the EU has funded PANTERA project to work in this direction, to identify and implement initiatives aimed at raising the participation of EU countries widely, because as we said earlier, is not everywhere the same. And through this, the project's main goal is to bridge the gaps in research and innovation in the energy field that exist between the EU member states. And our mission, as we see it, is to broaden research and innovation activity in the energy transition to cover all member states, and as the Green Deal is saying, leaving no one behind. So next slide, please. So for us, the identified countries that came through an extensive investigation from JRC is bringing these countries that you see here, and they're not a few, that are, as are called, with lower activity in this energy transition. And these are the countries that we are targeting through the work of PANTERA. And we are aiming to do a lot in this direction. So next slide, please. We are trying to approach this in a holistic way. And so what is done through the work that we are putting forward, we are trying to address it from the angle of from the stakeholders angle, from the angle of what is the research and innovation community doing, like the ETIPSnet and Working Group 5 in particular, how we are addressing these issues, and how these are linked between them from bottom up and from top to down approach, how we are addressing all these issues and how we can use experts acting through teams to help the process to identify this work and contribute in building up a process that will strengthen the research and activity in these countries. We are also doing a lot, as we call it, the regional desk activity, through which we are trying to mobilize stakeholders in these areas, in these countries, and get them together in order to help themselves and build strengthening their interest and support in what is of broadly their interest. So through this, we are trying to generate a platform through which we will say a lot more today how it's going to function. So next slide, please. So this is what we are trying to do with regions. We are trying to put them together, and we are trying to build on the strengths that were brought to us through the extensive activities of the smart specialization platform that JRC is pushing forward in this direction. And so trying to build on the smartness of each area, on the specialization of each area, and trying to bring forward the strategic interest of these areas. So next slide, please. So as I already said, working teams are functioning, are helping the process. We have 5 teams working in this direction, and this is what we aim to produce through experts to support the process. This is what I wanted to just say in opening the session. Next slide, please, which is the last one, just to thank you. And this is, we have started, as I already said, we are thanking you very much for joining us today, and we are very thankful for that. And please, Mohammed, please say a few words about how can our participants being more active and how contributing to today's activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Venizelos. So I'm Mohammed Shalabi from DAR Lab. So in the next few slides, I'm just going to explain to you how you could vote or how to ask questions to the speakers or the presenters. We will kindly ask you to be interactive. Unfortunately, we cannot meet physically as we do in as usual in our PANTERA workshop, where we meet and discuss and have a paper, but nevertheless, we use all our resources and online ways to move forward. So even if COVID-19 is stopping the world, it shouldn't be stopping us to drive the future of energy. So we kindly ask you to be very interactive the whole day. And this is, I kindly ask you to either, if you are using your mobile phone or your tablet, to scan this barcode, or you could also go on any kind of browser on glisser.live /Pantera. You will always find it here. So we kindly ask you to do this now, and if you face any problem, just feel free to inform me. You will need just to enter your email, and if you'd like to receive newsletter about Pantera, just click on this and say I'm happy to receive. If not, just agree and we'll not send you a newsletter. We are going to ask questions either in multiple choice, and please sometimes we are asking it to answer only one, give one answer, or sometimes we ask for more than one answer. And also we will be asking you to rate some of the things that we're going to speak about. If you feel you don't want to answer this question, and I hope this won't be the case, you feel free to skip this question. If you would like to ask any question to the speakers, you will find next to the slides on your tablet or your screen the Q&A. If you click on it, and you will find the plus sign down, and you ask the speaker, and you could just click on it and type your question, and we'll be happy to address it to the speaker to answer it. Just to make sure that everything goes smoothly today, we kindly ask you to mute your microphone and also to switch off your camera unless you're the moderator or the speaker or the coordinator of this session. Also, we will be happy to receive your questions, so please feel free to ask any questions, and we'll be happy. We're making this workshop to interact and to discuss. And please note this virtual workshop is recorded, so we are going to use this record to help us with the minutes. And at any time, if you face any problem, if you go to the chat and you select send to organizer or my name, Mohammed Shalabi, and just send me a message and I will be happy to support and help you. So by that, I'm just done. I will give the floor back to Venizelos to introduce the next speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed, for this very helpful guide how we will function today is critically important to receive your input through questions or through actually answering the questions raised, which is very important, and how you can raise your questions and get your replies. Thank you very much. We are already 55 connected, which is a very good number for us. And we would like again to thank our guests for being available to help today's workshop. Our first guest is Dr. Stathis Pedeves, which is the head of knowledge for Energy Union in the Energy, Transport and Climate Directorate. And he has been working for the Commission since 1987, addressing issues such as advanced materials technologies, power generation, alternative fuels, energy technologies assessment and modeling in support of energy technology and energy policy. His current focus is in the energy technology pillar of the EU's energy and climate change policy. The strategic energy technology plan is one of his babies. He's working in that. He leads the Commission Strategic Energy Technology Information System, the SETIS, as we know it, and the scientific and technical support tool to the decision-making of the set plan governance and the monitor and assessor of EU's energy technology innovation progress. So Stathi, welcome. The floor is yours to tell us a few things about the policies of EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Venizelos. Let me broadcast myself as well. Dear friends, colleagues, in particular, my colleagues from the JRC, but not only. Many of you, I was looking to meeting you during this week. Who would have imagined a few months ago that we were going to be together this week in the very crowded and often hot places in the press room across the Charlemagne, between posters, buffets, you name it. But anyhow, here we are. First of all, I wish the best to all of you, and I'm sure you're doing well, and enjoy the afternoon session. Thank you for the kind words, Venizelos, especially since you made me 10 years younger. I joined the Commission in '87. I wish it was 97, but it was 87, or maybe I misheard you. When Venizelos asked me to come in and present something, he threw at me a very appetizing title: Research and Innovation, Recovery, Research and Innovation Community, which are dear to my heart. And I happily accepted. Till a week ago, I realized I have to do everything in 10 minutes. Most likely I'm gonna fail, hopefully not miserably, and I will go through my slides quickly. Why? Because there is much to be said about it, not only in general, but also to you, that as I have heard all about the PANTERA project, for which I have to be educating myself more and more since I happen, or I have the honor to be in its advisory committee. Why research and innovation is important? For the mere reason that it has been now, I would say, loosely using the word proven, that research and innovation can help the recovery and accelerate climate neutrality. Next slide, Mohammed. Next slide, please. Oh, the one before. Yeah. I try to share with you some excerpts from the Next Generation EU communication of 2 weeks ago, prepare the next generation. And I highlighted the things that it says about research and innovation, the role of it in driving the shift towards the 4 Cs, the clean, circular, competitive, and climate neutrality. Furthermore, how research and innovation will be essential to boost Europe's resilience and strategic autonomy based on the lessons we learned through the pandemic. As far as our supply chains are concerned, predominantly what we learned is for health, but not only, with regard, as much as with regards to technological innovation. Then another thing that he mentions, and by the way, it is very good, short, legal text of the Commission that I encourage you all to read it carefully, leisurely. Then he speaks about data sets. And that is where you come in, or communities like yours coming in, which have to be open, accessible, and available for research and innovation, but also our smaller industrial ecosystem, the SMEs. And then it speaks also about the need, as we go for the twin digital and green transition, to improve and adapt our skills, knowledge, and competencies. Next slide, please, Mohammed. Then if we go thematically, the axis that it builds upon is the renovation way and the circularity, of course, the renewable energy, and parts of it, an important part of it is the hydrogen economy, the cleaner transport and the infrastructure related with alternative fuels, and even more so with electromobility. And the last thing, which is very important, touched by PANTERA in, so to speak, isolating those countries of ours that do lesser or are less engaged in the research and innovation system, is the element of justice, the element of fairness. I mean, this transition, it will not go as well, if not at all, if it is a not just transition, or as the Clean Planet for All communication said in its title, is Clean Planet for All, where we all have to go hand in hand. Next slide, please. Now, some headlines, in particular from our colleagues from our DG Science, Research and Innovation. You have all heard that although with MFF still pending, that at least of 35% of funds, it will go from the Horizon Europe for climate solutions. We're about ready to advance with the Green Deal call that I will speak a bit more later, which is gonna fund about 1 billion. It is gonna come about to all of us with calls for proposals in the beginning of next year. You have heard about the Green Deal missions, the climate adaptation, ocean, cities, and soil. And then there are several European partnerships that are worked out that range from clean steel to clean aviation to blue economy. Then you have aspects about the reshaping of the EIT, the European Innovation Council, the data and the digital infrastructure that needs to be in place to support the ecological transition. Next slide, please, Mohammed. This is the structure at the moment of the Green Deal, as has been also, let's say, shared with the various program committees and in the public consultation that concluded in June, for which we had about 6,000 responses. It is covered the areas of the Green Deal that span from the increasing the climate ambition to the concomitant effects of greening, but with air pollution, energy resources efficient buildings, the industry clean and circular economy, the clean, affordable and secure energy. If you would ask me where PANTERA fits in, one would say in area 2, but not only. If you look in the areas which are cross-cutting, so to speak, area 9, area 10, and area 11, this is where you're also active, yet you should be even more active. How we strengthen our knowledge, how we empower the citizens, although in your case is a smaller piece of the citizenry, namely the R&I community, and then how do we cooperate each other? We don't call it international in Europe, but still how we cooperate among ourselves. Next slide, please. Now, even more closer to your thematic foci, which, if I recall well, is the smart grids, the storage, and the local energy systems, are the upcoming strategies of the Commission, which are in its work program 2020. The smart sector integration, which is very much worked out in proposing what it needs to be done and ideas for it through the TIPSNet. I assume the audience knows these acronyms. The renovation wave, you think, what is it for us? It is a lot for you, because the renovation wave, it does not imply only insulating our homes. It implies electrifying primarily our heating and cooling systems, and also making less carbon intensive our district heating systems, networks. And the last one is the other strategy that we will come with in the fall of this year, October or thereabout, is the offshore renewable energy strategy. All these depend on electrification, as the slide portrays, networks, infrastructure carriers, which are very much embedded in the as a focus of the PANTERA. Next slide, please. The next slides, because I'm sure I'm inching towards the 10 minutes, I will go through quickly, but I have to share them with you. Why? Because to my understanding, PANTERA is also one of the embryos stemming out of the Strategic Energy Technology Plan broad initiatives. So where are we with the set plan? We started at we plan to have this year a better monitored progress report than the one in 2019. Key importance of you to contribute to it. The second is on Friday, we will have a Sustainable Energy Week session, is in the morning, where we will connect with all the implementation working groups at the set plan countries to see how the set plan also possibly realigning itself contribute to the recovery, be an important actor in the so-called next generation EU. And then later the year, we don't know yet if it will be virtual, most likely it will also be virtual. It will be the set plan conference under the German presidency in November, where there we will focus on elements that touch upon the recovery program thematically, namely the sector integration, the renovation, and the offshore renewable energy strategy. Next slide, Mohammed. Now, why the progress monitoring and reporting is important, and how you could, is not how you could, how you should contribute to it. Because if you put together whatever the set plan ambitions and, so to speak, declarations are, and you contrast that with the national energy climate plans, sometimes you see differences, sometimes you see add-ons, and you try to understand which is what it matters. And this is what is portrayed here, and you will find that in the report of 2019. And even more so, next slide, Mohammed. If you look on the findings of the report of 2019, the picture that comes up is the importance of the investments, and if the investments are manifesting the delay in progressing with our implementation plans. And this is what we try to see again this year, whereas shown in this picture, most of it is behind, with the exception of the positive energy districts. We hope to see different pictures here this year, and therefore, accordingly, as we move on with all these ample funding opportunities that may be there in the recovery package, how we can capitalize on it. Next slide, please. This is more detailed about the investments happening along the various implementation plans of the set plan, the number of countries behind it, and so on and so forth. You will have the slides, I assume, so you can look at later on. For the sake of time, let's move on. The next one, please. Okay, I thought sharing with you this last slide. And why to share it with you? To share it with you because my expectations are the likes of PANTERA, and even more so broader coalitions such as BRIDGE, are the knowledge base for us to understand what different modeling outputs, scenarios, data are telling us, where they merge and where they diverge. This is an analysis we did on various scenarios that hint upon the hydrogen economy. And just I want you to focus on the picture for the time being and only look the size of the bubbles, the difference of the placement of the bubbles along the y-axis, and you understand the divergence that is there. The issue is not which is better or which one is most likely to succeed. The issue for the research and innovation community is to understand where each one of those stakeholders is coming about and why is portraying this picture and why it differs from the other one. Next one. Next slide, Mohammed. Now, our colleagues in RTD, and I don't know if it is one of them joining us today, they have made a very nice fact sheet and a brochure on the role of R&I in Europe's recovery. I will strongly recommend to you, whenever the session is over, or tomorrow or the next day, look at it and read it, because they're very good compendium of the thinking of the role of the R&I as we move forward beyond the pandemic, hopefully soon, but also recover quickly and advance faster towards climate neutrality. So with this one, I would like to conclude. I would like to thank again you, Venizelos, the organizers. The only thing I would, with certain unhappiness, say, I have to go about 4:15. So I will leave you about that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stafi, for this delivery of important points and information coming from the Commission. Thank you for the advice given, and thank you for being part of this what we consider important workshop for PANTERA. So we can move on to the next item on the agenda. So Christina, please take the floor.
Hello, everyone. This is Christina Papadimitriou. I'm with FOSS and the University of Cyprus, and I'm going to moderate this roundtable one. The main thematic of this roundtable is to discuss about the ways of collaboration with JRC and the Smart Specialization platform, and how these two could support the Green Deal vision. So the main objective of this roundtable is to reach a solid outcome on how this support could be made. Together with me, and I'm really happy to have them, is Mrs. Isabel Segner and Mr. Fernando Merida Martin, that will help us in our discussion. And I would like also to ask all of you to be interactive with us through the Glisser tool. I will give you some questions, and we would be really happy if we could have vivid discussions. So let me, before we proceed with our questions in the next slide, let me just be reviewing about our invitees. Mrs. Segner is an environmental engineer. She has master studies in European studies, and she works since 2016 as a project officer in the Smart Specialization platform, focused in the fields of energy and industrial modernization. And Mr. Fernando Merida is graduated in Geography and History from Universidad de Madrid. He has postgraduate studies in the public policy Thematic, and he's also with JRC in Seville, focusing in the modernization thematic platforms and energy. So Isabel and Fernando, please feel free to open your cameras and start our discussion. I would proceed with the first question, not to lose time, unless you would like to add something at this point.
No, it's fine, thank you.
Great. So in the next slide, this is the question that I would like to address to you. I would like to ask you how the Green Deal influences or widens the R&I community priorities. And I would like to hear your insight and your perspective, having experience in the regional approach through the Smart Specialization platform. And I would really love to hear how this community from the bottom-up approach will be influenced according to you. I know that you have prepared some slides on this, so please, Mohammed, if it's okay, you can share the slides.
Oh, yes, thank you, Christina, because I think that it may be useful to put a little bit into context the smart specialization approach, no?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We'll try to be fast. Yes, I don't know how many of you already know or is very much aware about the smart specialization concept, but I think it may be good to give you some first insights about that. So maybe next slide, please, Mohammed. So yes, just to begin with, our S3, so smart specialization strategy, it means actually the national or regional innovation strategies that are developed by the regions and or at regional level or at member state level. S3 have been a legal precondition for claiming funding from the EU structural funds for research and innovation. So from 2014, regions have been asked to focus actually their funding resources on a limited set of priority domains. And they had to do so in a collaborative manner. It means bringing together, well, all key actors from the governments, the academia, the businesses, and the civil society, the users. It is what we call the entrepreneurial discovery process. And in this bottom-up approach, they all together had to position their regional capabilities within global value chains and examine the areas of competitive strengths in their regions, agreeing finally in their S3 to focus on a limited number of investment priorities. So the S3 builds on the region's unique assets, local capabilities, knowledge, and what is their potential for linkages also with other regions, etc. It's a key concept in the European regional policy for innovation and for regional development. And the smart specialization platform, it is actually us at GRC located in Seville and in the territorial development units. And the platform has been developed in 2011, I think, to help to assist the regions and the member states to design and to implement now their strategies, their S3. So as you can see on the slide, here is a list of examples of services that we provide from the platform. For example, the guidance materials and good practice examples, or data and tools, such as the digital innovation hub catalogs, for example. Also, we organize sessions for policymakers, peer reviews, trainings, and everything for mutual learning. Also about transnational cooperation, I'll go back to that later, and analysis also and policy advices. So that's mainly the platform work. Next slide, please. So having said that the region had to decide on specific priorities to focus their funding for research and innovation, we have seen a few years ago that many regions have, of course, complementary priorities, topics, and we decided to create 3 thematic platforms, one on agri-food, on energy, and on industrial modernization, because they were the most selected priorities across Europe. So these platforms, from this platform, we help to connect the regional innovation ecosystems, and we provide an interactive and participatory environment where the interregional cooperation can happen. The 3 platforms help regions to connect together to create interregional S3 partnerships. I'm sorry, because there are many different partnerships and platforms across Europe, but this is the thematic interregional S3 partnership. There are today 32 partnerships from 208 regions and countries across Europe. Regions have decided on the bottom-up approach again to work together around common areas of interest, and I can explain you a little bit on which topic after that. But the idea is, of course, it was to join forces and complement their strengths in order to avoid duplication of resources, funding resources, duplication of human resources, of course, of capabilities, of even the labs, etc., and to increase the critical mass in order to enhance or even create EU value chains across Europe in those specific topics. So the idea is to build synergies on also with other initiatives, and for example, PANTERA is fully complementary to our platforms and partnerships. So next slide, please. So very briefly, just a slide so that you have the information and you can check online. There is a link there, a little bit more information on each platform. The Agri-Food platform, for example, has supported the creation and the development of 5 partnerships. The topics are there, and there are 4 DGs from the Commission involved in this platform. So DG Agri, of course, DG Regio, DG RTD, and GRC, which is us. Next slide, please. The one on energy was the first created, actually, and it is maybe the one that is more linked to the activity today, of course. There are 6 partnerships in energy currently active, and also there had one activity specific on heating and cooling, done by GRC with regions, but not deployed, I would say, as a partnership. But almost 90 regions. We say administrative units are working because it can be regions, countries, or even cities, and almost 30 different countries. And the objective was, as I said, also not only to join forces to build together projects and create maybe filling in the gaps in the EU value chains and building projects, but also as easy as it is to say that we were trying to support the implementation of the S3 in these regions. So it's not only about the partnerships development, but also on individual basis to help the regions to implement the S3 in energy. The DGs involved are, of course, Regio and GRC. And the next slide. And this one, the third platform, is on industrialization. There are many, many partnerships, 21, on very wide range of topics, from photonics to 3D printing, also on chemicals and 3D and social economy, for example. And the DG Grow is also involved in this platform. You can find many information on each of these partnerships online, and if you have any question, you can also ask us. And I think that the next slide is Fernando, who will be presenting it. Correct? Yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure also for me to be here in this very interesting webinar that PANTERA has organized. Thanks for inviting us. Well, I think that we have prepared this presentation by introducing the main objectives, topics, and contents of the platform. And now it's the 3 slides that we have now for you. I think that we can start by answering the question that Christina has made us before our presentation, because we are going to try to show you how we feel, how we understand that the smart specialization concept and the smart specialization platforms and the smart specialization model could contribute in the next programming period, and in particular in the development of the objectives of the Green Deal. So we are now in the process of defining a new framework in which the smart specialization strategy has to have a relevant role to play. Of course, when we have put this slide here talking about new EC priorities, that in fact are the EC priorities for cohesion policy, we have done that because we consider that within this cohesion policy environment, there is a comfortable scenario for the expected Green Deal achievements. In fact, to pursue a smarter Europe through innovation is not a new concept. It's something that has been there in the European portfolio for years. But the difference is that now it is connected with this sustainability component, also associated with the digitalization, the education, and the local dimension aspects. So this complex environment that now we are facing could be better deployed with the additional development of current existing tools or methods that has been around or inserted in the smart specialization concept. For instance, the entrepreneurial discovery process as the process where the stakeholders are allowed to participate in an active way in the analysis of what are the situation in a given country and defining the priorities that could be the better ones for the development of this territory. Also, we not only within the smart specialization concept, but in general in the development of innovation policies, we have been working in identifying synergies, not only among funding instruments, as it was considered many times that when we from the Commission are talking about synergies, we are talking only about synergies between the framework program, the Horizon 2020 and the cohesion funds. But we are going more beyond that and trying to identify synergies among policies, among regulations, among instruments, and so on. And of course, in our opinion, coming from these thematic platforms, this smarter Europe, this greener Europe, this more connected Europe is going to be a reality if we strongly develop the interterritorial cooperation as we have been doing during these years in these partnerships. So the next slide, please, Mohammed. This is a very graphic view of what Green Deal is talking about and is willing to work in, as all of you are very aware. For us, we consider that the Green Deal integrates in one unique setup several topics that, again, we have been working with them for many years. But in some cases, we have been working in an isolation mode. This Green Deal is trying to integrate, for instance, the climate vision with the clean energies, with the smart mobility. It's a component of coordinating among circular economy, agricultural policy, preservation of biodiversity, and everything having on the top this sustainable conception as a crucial element for making the European Union a global leader in the world. But this, again, with an additional component that is a very differential element, that is this component of leaving no one behind, with the definition of new instruments, the just transition funds, and so on. So if we can go to the next one, please, Mohammed. Having this in mind, what has the smart specialization model has been developing during these years? What is the new paradigm that is expecting us in the very close future? All of these things that our colleague from before has been talking about, the recovery and so on, we consider that the smart specialization concept is an essential part. Also, now it is already considered an essential part of the multi-governance, multi-level governance in the European Union policy. It's important how the concept of smart specialization is evolving from the one that we have 7 years ago, when it was more basic, fundamentally in the bottom-up approach. But now we are trying to get an additional directionality with the top-down vision in order to try to get a more coherent model, but with a very strong focus in place-based innovation-driven policy, as the territories has a very important play a very relevant role to play in the definition of the policies in this large framework and this new paradigm that is also combined with this mission-oriented policy that we have been listening for a while. In our view, this kind of reinforces smart specialization concept could be a very important, relevant tool as a coordination element between the different policies, a coordination element or coordination model that could dynamize the activities that could be developed under the Green Deal, and that could lead to the achievement of many of these objectives. And I think that the presentation is over now. I think that probably we have covered a little bit your first question, Christina, but we can talk a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your feedback. I think that what was really interesting is that you shared with us what the smart specialization platform is, in order to for the ones that they are not familiar, to know what the activities of you are, and of course through this approach, how JRC and smart specialization and how they could support the Green Deal objective was obvious. From what you have said, Fernando, I keep that of course we need to have a single process that would support the Green Deal objective, and we need a coherent model that would combine in the best way the bottom up and the top down approaches. From your activities and what you have been doing in the smart specialization platform, the network, the synergies and the promotion of the interaction among the territories and the regions are really important to the just mechanism of Green Deal, in order not to leave anyone behind. So I think the way that the priorities are changed and the way that they are shaped by the Green Deal, of course smart specialization JRC has a significant role to play there. Definitely. I think that your answer was to the point. From my side, I would like though to hear the audience opinion on how they perceive the Green Deal, what the Green Deal is all about, and what does it mean for them. So if we can proceed with the next slide, I would like all of you to go to the Glister tool and please give us your insight. There are 4 questions that will follow, 4 of questions that are related to the Green Deal and are connected to its objectives. And you have the right to select 1 to 3 answers. As it's the first time you probably use Glister, and it's the first time you use it throughout our workshop, please feel free to send any question to Mohammed in order to make sure that you leave your feedback and you interact with us in the proper way. You will have 1 minute for each question in order to complete it, and hopefully we will have some vivid discussions in the next. I would like to ask you, Mohammed, as soon as the 1 minute expires, could you please share with us the result?
Okay. So I guess 1 minute passed, so we'll present the results.
Great. Okay, so let's go through this feedback of yours and see that the majority of you have voted that clean, reliable, and affordable energy is actually the meaning of Green Deal to you. Climate neutrality and transition to a circular economy, while other selections as zero pollution Europe, preserving Europe's natural capital, and sustainable transport have left behind. Okay, I think that it's what is expected. I think that it's in line with what Green Deal's fights for, the clean, reliable, affordable energy. Of course, this is not only the objective of the Green Deal, but I guess we can see the result collectively in the next, as all these 3 questions that will follow are intertwined together. So maybe we can proceed to the next question. And
maybe Christina, may I intervene? Sorry.
Of course, yes. Yes, please.
I think it was a good moment to see that, of course, everyone and each region, country, and person even has a priority. No, we can see that some will focus on transport and others on biodiversity or energy. So what S3, for example, can provide is that exactly what we are. Fernando was talking about. Innovation happens on a place, in a place, no, and regions work on where they are the stronger and where they have innovation capacity, etc. What is really good with our work, our platform, and the S3 model is that we can share this innovation across Europe, and we can build all together. So it is fine that not everybody is working on everything. It is exactly what specialization means. We have to all places can benefit from the work done by others in innovation, and from these to work towards this ecological and digital transition that are within the Green Deal, and so I think it is exactly what it represents more or less what we wanted to tell you before, that all together we with the local capabilities we can work on the global objectives of the EU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
This is very well said as far as specialization and appetites for each one of us. But if you look at the slide, it's disturbing, because the overall goal is climate neutrality. And if we miss, especially us, this community of the 55 people, to vote overwhelmingly on this, something is wrong. Either how the Green Deal is communicated, or was communicated, or we have not grasped the essence of it. The overall goal, my dear friends, what is it? Is neutrality. You can achieve this neutrality via various pathways. But you asked us in this question, what does the Green Deal mean to you? So I'm a bit, you know, I don't want to say disappointed, I'm disturbed.
Okay, thank you for sharing your opinion with us. I can totally understand what you are both sharing. I think this figure can be seen under two prisms. Let's say the first is what Green Deal means to you, not assessing the Green Deal itself, but put forward the main competencies of the regions. So I think that we should choose to read it this way. The competencies of the regions and the countries where these 50 people come from is seen in this slide, and not it's not a misunderstanding of Green Deal, let's say. It's just a mirroring of the needs from the regions, as Isabel shared previously. That's why what I think we should go for this figure. Of course, I totally understand what you're saying and what would be the objective and the main topic of Green Deal. But I think that Green Deal through this slide isn't cancelled. It's just the competencies that are shown. Any other opinions or feedback on that, or we shall proceed to the next slide?
May I intervene only for a moment?
Yes,
because I think that I was a little bit lost with because I think that in this question it was going to be also a question regarding the opportunity for a systemic transformation. Is somewhere there or not? I don't see it. Because, well,
yes, there are some.
Yeah,
there are some questions that will follow. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So then I will wait.
Okay. So I think that we should proceed, because we're having some other questions that I think that will incur more vivid discussions in the next. So, is the Green Deal technology neutral to you? You have 30 seconds to give us your feedback, and then Mohammed, you should proceed and share with us the results.
So the 30 minutes passed, so I will present the results now.
Okay. Okay. This, I think that it will turn on some really interesting discussions, because Green Deal's objective is to keep it neutral as far as the technology is concerned. So I would like to ask the ones that has actually voted for no, what would be the main argument of Green Deal not being technology neutral? Please feel free to raise your hands and interact with us. Half of you have voted for no, so please raise your hands.
So feel free to unmute your microphone and just speak.
Yes. Even ones that you have voted for yes. Okay. I will try to personally ask someone to start the discussion. So I would like to ask, although this is anonymous, but I would like to ask Venizelos what has voted for.
Why did you ask me?
Venizelos, we cannot hear you.
Yes, okay. The Green Deal has it's started to be technology neutral. In other words, support the process that we would like to go for climate neutrality in the best possible way, the most economical way. I think here what Sarah said before is of critical importance in this process. We know that every region, every country, every person contributing to this is aiming and is trying to achieve through this Green Deal a lot, and is expecting a lot. We feel that the Green Deal new approach is already quite ahead with what is being discussed in order to present solutions forward and how to support the process through this billion of euros that was to be given through research and innovation to support.
Venizelos, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the sound quality is not quite good, and we could hardly hear you or understand you.
Sorry, I will try again.
Okay. I think we can proceed with the next question because it's linked with this one, and I think as soon as Venizelos restores his connection, maybe he could take the floor and answer. So one of the mechanism, the just mechanism of Green Deal is claiming that we are planning not to leave no one behind. So from what you have understood, you have read, is the Green Deal leaving no one behind? Is it a yes or no? So you again have 13 seconds to answer. Mohammed, please feel free to share the result as soon as this time expires.
Now sharing the results. So the blue is say yes, and the red one is the no.
Okay, so I think that these answers mirroring a situation that some countries are confronting right now. They are left behind in smart grids investments and research and innovation. And one of the objectives of PANTERA was to boost and leverage these investments, because some countries are definitely left behind. So I think that this mirrors the main considerations. Again, this is not a criticism in the Green Deal, it's just the mirroring of the considerations that the different regions and research and innovation communities of the regions are facing, at least the way I see it. Is anyone would like to add something on that?
Cristina, this is Fernando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that this is more a perception based on the experience of the past, probably. Exactly. Because, well, you know, if we are honest and we consider what was said by us, by the Commission at the beginning of this programming period, the smart specialization strategies, in fact, were it was an instrument that it was conceived in trying to reduce the disparities, the differences between the more advanced and the less advanced regions, and the result has not, well, let's say, some of these objectives has not been achieved. So probably this tendency, I'm thinking that probably the next period is going to mean more or less the same. I think that is behind this answer. But the difference that we would like to reinforce, to stress in the analysis of the time to come, is that probably we are now in a position that we were not some years ago. For instance, in 2014, we are now in a completely different environment. We have been looking at different scenarios that are pushing us as a community to really change the mind. And the Commission is now trying to push in this changing of mind changing. The Commission is trying to change the mindset. Is trying to push in the creation and of a new paradigm, in the push in place of a real elements for transformation of the economies. So of course I fully understand this negative perception, but I would stress the relevance and the difference that we are living now in the current moment.
Yes, you're totally right.
Yeah, to complement what Fernando was saying, the Green Deal, and finally to fulfill the objectives of the Green Deal, regions will work, local actors will be working, and it is true that we have to, there is a clear need to work closely with those regions that have very much difficulty to absorb, for example, also the funds that are available to them. And the cohesion policy, there is more funding available for those regions, but finally, because of governance issues or absorptive capacity, the lack of capacity, there is a bottleneck there, making it very difficult to have a real impact on the ground. Now, the objectives are very ambitious, and there is no time to wait for much more. So we have today to help those regions to absorb the existing funds. And for example, we think that interregional cooperation can help for that, because they can learn from others, and they have to. We have to help increasing the capacity of local authorities to use all those available funds, also the new funds that are specifically dedicated to those regions through the Just Transition Fund, for example, and we have to help them to manage and steer those investments and bring the innovation along the full value chain to make it real on the ground, no? So we'll be there for that if we can.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for your feedback. I'm totally aligned with what was said. And I would like to proceed with the next question as we're running out of time. How relevant are the actions taken through the Green Deal to the priorities of your region? And this is another question that is addressed to our audience. So select 1 to 3 answers. In the next 30 seconds. And please, Mohammed, feel free to share the results. So can we see the results? Okay, I think that most of you are familiar with the main competencies of your region, along with the barriers that you may confront every day. And this is a mirroring of the situation. So I would not like to focus on that. I would prefer to proceed with more questions. And of course, your feedback will be analyzed thoroughly in the next. So let's proceed with the next questions. The next question is addressed to Fernando and Isabel, and of course to all of you that I would like to discuss with us. And again, after identifying the needs of the RNI community, as Fernando and Isabel has presented, and Mr. Preves through their presentation, what are the needs to be addressed from the JRC perspective and the regional activities? And I would like a quotation from both of you, Isabel and Fernando, and please make sure to include in your answer thematics and issues as the policy response, what is the support that you could give to the Just Transition mechanism in order not to leave anyone behind, how the different regional and territorial plans would be saved, and of course the social dimension and how we put the active citizenship in the middle of all this.
Very, very difficult question, Christina, because you put the finger where, for example, the policy response and the investment leverage and everything of this is still a challenge, actually, also in the S3 way of working. I think very much has been learned during this current programming period since 2014, and we can take advantage of what has been learned. But indeed, I think a very good way of working is this, what I said before, this entrepreneurial discovery process, this governance also learned from the S3 method or the S3 model. The governance model of S3 can be used probably for the Green Deal and in general to ensure that we are answering the needs of the RNI community, as you said, because it integrates many levels of governance. Actually, it's this multi-level way of working. It includes not only the local and regional. It should be connected with the European national and European ones, even the international level. And it should include all kind of factors. From the businesses should inform about what are the needs they have. The academia is there to answer about the needs, how these needs can be answered. The civil society is there, and when everyone is involved in the design of this vision, of the strategy, of the list of needs and how to tackle them, then they feel that the policy response will be much stronger. The policy, if the vision is designed with all those actors together from the very beginning, then the implementation and the territorial and regional plans, as you said, are supported already by all. And the social dimension is also integrated from the beginning if we succeed in integrating the users and the civil society from the beginning. But it is one of the most difficult side from the one of the most big challenges of the S3. I don't know, Fernando, I think you can complete. I have more ideas, but now.
Yeah, I think that this, when we talk about the result of smart specialization, we tend to be, at least some of the colleagues that are working in the GRC tend to be a little bit pragmatic, let's say, no? There are plenty of opinions all over Europe. There are regions that has faced these smart specialization strategies as a nightmare, that it was impossible for them to develop even the first of the elements, that was the stakeholder engagement. And then you have other regions in Europe that for them the process has been very easy to make, because they were already in processes similar to the smart specialization strategies. And then you can see here this kind of disparities between the European regions. Those European regions that are more advanced are able to involve stakeholders, are able to get political commitment to develop strategies, are able to invite and to involve the society in the definition of the policies. For the regions that has more problems because their own innovation ecosystems are weaker, for them is quite more difficult. But the thing that we believe that happened now is that we have already seen a lot of these problems. We have faced a lot of these bottlenecks. We are again, as I said before, as a community, not we in the European Commission, but we in the European Commission, and in the European Commission, we at the GRC, our colleagues from DG Regio, our colleagues from DG Research, our colleagues from DG Ener or DG Grow, are more aware about what is the meaning of this governance model, what is the complexities of the governance model. And in the community is also the regions, the member states, that has faced what are the problems when they have been trying to do these things during this year. So I think that we are more, we are able now to identify what could be the regulatory changes that are needed to implement the programs that are going to be aligned with these strategies. We are going to be able to improve a lot the interregional cooperation. That is not only a question of putting in place a specific pilot action. It is a question of cooperation in understanding the complexities, in helping to one to each other, in solving the problems, in taking advantage of initiatives like PANTERA, for instance, that is trying to act as a platform that covers the necessities of plenty of different regions in Europe that are sharing. So my understanding of smart specialization strategies is that we have advanced a lot, that we are able now to think that we have a strong model to governance, for governance this environment. And of course, for instance, the last question, how to integrate the social dimension in these plans. I think that it's important to have in mind that we are also now considering the concept of responsible research and innovation as one element that has to be there. The possibility to go beyond the invitation to the society to participate in something, for an invitation to be active in the definition, in the identification of the problems, and in the definition of the solutions, and of course in the evaluation of the solutions. So I think that we are now in this stronger position compared with the one that we have 7 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. Fernando and Isabel, I agree with you, and thank you for sharing your insight. I think that JRC and the RIS3 has a lot to offer to the Green Deal. Having said that, there is already the mechanism there is already the experience that you have and the activities that you are running, and I think that this can be a good support of the complementary activities to the Green Deal. We have only 5 minutes left, so I would like to proceed with the Glisser questions in order to have also the feedback from the audience. So please, Mohammed, can you go through the Glisser? The next question, I think, is about which of the following strengths had a major impact related to the Green Deal. Actually, the question is to identify from your experience the main strengths and the main weaknesses in the next question regarding the Green Deal approach. So please have 1 minute to take the question and go through the different selections. Mohammed, could you please share the result and we can, okay, you can see that they're still voting, the audience is still voting. Okay, there's a big granularity here, and of course this is because there is different competencies and different strengths in each of the regional research and innovation community. Of course, we will go through the results and analyze it and share it with you after the conclusion of this workshop. So let's go through the next question, and please select the weaknesses. What would be the weaknesses, and what would be the weaknesses that has actually a major impact related to the Green Deal? Again, 1 to 3 answers. This question is quite important because through the strengths and weaknesses, one could redesign a coherent process and a coherent approach, as the one that Fernando and Isabel of JRC has proposed in the first part of this session. It's really, really difficult to identify from a top-to-down approach what is missing in the regional level. But this is a great opportunity for you to also host the bottom-up approach and take the main consideration of yours and what would be the main strengths of your regions. So let's see the results. Again, there is a granularity here, but you can see a slight bigger result, bigger rating in insufficient political cohesion. What's that? It's about the political commitment. The political commitment, and that makes sense. And of course, the lack of capacities, and that's what have Isabel had already said about the lack of capacities, administrative and financial, especially for the countries that have left behind in R&I smart grid investments. I have another question for the audience. If you could proceed, Mohammed. This is a question about the platform, the PANTERA platform, and how our platform, that's called ERI, and will about more in the next session. But I would like to say a couple of things regarding how this platform could actually contribute to what JRC and the smart specialization could contribute to the European Commission. While I'm speaking, Mohammed, you could proceed with the next question that is referred to the audience, and this is the last question for this first round table. There's a set of questions about what would be the main functionalities of this platform and what from your side, what you would think of really useful feature of our platform. So go through the questions and please rate how useful you think that the certain characteristics of the platform would be for your regional and research endeavors needs. So while the audience is voting the last question, I would like to say some things about the platform that could be facilitating the whole process and boost the Green Deal participation from all countries, and at the same time wrap up this roundtable and at the end ask for a conclusion remark from Isabel and Fernando. The main characteristics of the platform, having said all the main contributions that JRC and smart specialization could offer to the Green Deal, is that it could support the coherent model of approach for the R&I community. It could boost networking, facilitate the different interactions between different types of stakeholders, and at the same time, in a word, facilitate the R&I community access to knowledge, data, and information. So from my side, I would like also to ask Isabel and Fernando to make a short statement before we conclude.
Okay, maybe we can try to answer the questions that are in the glycer.
Great, that would be more efficient, I think.
Because I have two questions. First, it's more a remark. It is said it is not only about funding, but also about the governance deficiencies that exist in some countries, for example, in Bulgaria, and the Green Deal doesn't have instruments to avoid this. So I think it is true. We have been speaking about governance here a lot, and I think that it is what the Green Deal maybe is a little bit missing, a governance model. And that is why we think that from the regional perspective, we can offer the S3 governance scheme as a tool for this Green Deal and for the new European transition, the twin transition, green and digital. As we said, that it is one of the tools that can help to make really the difference, no? Green Deal at the regional and local level. I don't know if it is totally true that in some countries like Bulgaria, and we have been working, for example, specifically with EU 13 countries during a workshop, working over 2 days on this topic of governance. There are many issues to be tackled, and one issue was the political commitment, have such a leadership, to a good mandate, also to the administration to be able to implement the S3 in a well coordinated manner. But there there are ways to get out of this deficiency and to learn from others. And for example, we invite EU 13 countries to work more in those partnerships, interregional partnerships we mentioned before, because they get access to a lot of information and they learn very much about also governance and way of working from other regions that are, like I would say, stronger or more leaders in R&I. And so maybe that is a way, for example, to get in touch with others participating in the partnerships. And the other question in the glycer is, this is a, so I can read it now because
these are selections of one question that is related to how our platform could be actually supporting the Green Deal through the JRC. So through the glycer, everyone in this audience could put their vote to the rating actually of how this platform could be really supportive to them. So I guess we will see the results after the workshop and analyze it a bit, and we will share it with all of you for your comments and any feedbacks.
If I made a final statement on my side, I think that just in connection with this question, I think that it's essential, the platform that you are offering, because there are a lot of things that could be covered through this kind of instrument. Even the question that the Bulgarian colleague has introduced, that is crucial, as Isabel has said, and you, Christina, has agreed. The capacity building is a question that is in the core of any innovation activity in any given country. The capacity at all levels, not only the technical capacity, but in most of the cases, the administrative capacity of those that are responsible of the development of the strategies and the programs is something that is a key. And I think that a platform like yours could help a lot by offering information about different practices that are in place. And of course, we can collaborate with you. We, as Isabel has mentioned, we organized almost a year ago, a workshop in trying to understand, because we don't know the answers. We don't know at the GRC what are the answers to the problems regarding most of the things that are happening in many less developed countries or regions. But we want to understand, and together we will try to find the solution. We will try to find the good practices that could be in another territory, or we can try to understand better why the problem is there and how to solve it. And I think that again, your platform could help enormously.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. More details about the platform and how it can be helpful will be followed in the next. Thank you all for contributing in this round table. Thank you, Isabel and Fernando. Thank you for your feedback, and of course the audience for participating in the glycer tool. Mohammed, I think that this is the conclusion of this round table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Venizelos?
Yes, I'm back. Let's go to this presentation for the PANTERA platform. Am I heard well?
Yes, quite good.
Okay, good. So the PANTERA platform, let's go quickly through it. We have heard quite a few things up to now. Can we go to the next slide, please? Because I wanted to just say that the PANTERA platform is meant to be a vision for to be a multifunctional collaborative platform to serve the research and innovation community in Europe, and is trying to link quite a lot of the already active and functioning platforms that are in Europe, and try to link them and bring together essential tools and features that will make this accessibility more usable and useful for the research and innovation community. And we would, and we are going to try to bring together data, information, knowledge with tools that can be made accessible and useful and usable by all connected stakeholders. We would like to be interactive and accessible by all. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the PANTERA platform principles behind its design are to give a complete accessibility to data, information, and knowledge that is useful for the everyday work of the research and innovation community. Of course, we are centered around smart grids and the energy transition. We are not covering all areas of research and innovation, but as an approach, we consider that it is an approach that will offer accessibility, connectivity, and usability of all this data that is out there, information and knowledge that today we hardly know that it exists or is scattered around and is difficult to bring together to be useful to research and innovation. So as we, I don't know, when are we going to see the results from the previous questions? Or are we going to present them later on, Mohammed?
If you want to go back to them and just present them, just
no, because we have lost quite a bit of time. I don't want to delay it longer. But anyway, your views that you have expressed already, this will be presented to you and sent to you, and we'll see what is your opinion about that. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the platform, as we have envisioned it, is to try to bring together this existing knowledge in Europe, the existing data and information, existing activity around smart grids and storage and local energy communities, to bring together this information and have it accessible in an interactive way. So next slide, please. This would be accessible by all. We will try to bring to you this through this platform. And it is important to just inform that there is already a decision from DG Energy that DG Energy has taken a decision of trying to make this sustainable. A new name has been given to this technology platform that we call PANTERA because of our project as PANTERA. Now we have to get used to the new name, which is EIRI, E-I-R-I-E, which is the European Interconnection for Research, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. This is the name given by DGNR and aiming to offer through service contracts sustainability to it, functioning way forward. That's the idea. So next slide, please. And through that, we are trying to give a logo to it so that you can see the logo on your left, how we will present this ERI name to made well known to all around. Next slide, please. So we are trying through this effort to bring together and connect already existing repositories. We have discussed extensively with the ERANET knowledge environment they already have to try and do that. But not only that, we are trying to extend to already existing knowledge platforms in order to share. Next slide, please. We are definitely functioning within JRC's servers. This is another decision that was taking place. And so everything that is around JRC and in their smart energy platform area is going to be connected and accessible through the servers that ERI will be functioning. And so next slide, please. Also, with agreement with Luciano, that is already here and representing Mission Innovation in Europe, we have agreed that we will link with the Mission Innovation platform and try to bring together the Smart Grid Innovation Accelerator that is being developed now in order to have accessibility through that. Next slide, please. And all this work that is being done, we would like to give through that interactive access and interactive use of knowledge around. Next slide, please. We are trying through that. I have already shown this administrative process of functioning, of linking together the various actors in Europe, and of course, activities within ETIPSNet, activities within Bridge, activities within the rest associations and activities in Europe. We are trying to link them and bring them together and make them accessible and usable by the research and innovation community in Europe. Next slide, please. And through this, we are trying to put together also a technical process through which we would like to make this data, to make results from projects accessible and usable by all, and also to try and learn from that and try to evaluate the results and give through this collective process that is going to be a loop linking this to be a continuous process in order to evaluate research and innovation needs for tomorrow in a quantitative way and reach, let's say, what is already identified within ETIPSNet 10-year plan and roadmap and implementation plan, the functionalities that are identified there that characterize this system of tomorrow, how mature they are, and we will try to bring and give quantitative dimension to that. This we will discuss in the next roundtable with Michele and Nikos and Luciano, and hopefully your reaction to the questions around there will give us further information as to how to handle this. Next slide, please. Of course, we are looking forward to this cooperation with regions, with active knowledge platforms. Next slide, please. And the architecture that we are giving to it is quite demanding, and we have thought of all activities around it in order to make it useful and usable by all. We would like to give data area, we hope to have information area, knowledge area, other services that we would like to support through this, and definitely we will offer analytics and visualization through this, and exploration services that we will provide, and all this related to a good management service bundle that can actually serve this process to make it as useful as possible to end users. Next slide, please. We would like this to cover Europe, of course. This is a vision. We don't know how it will evolve, but this is the vision that we would like to give for tomorrow. Next slide, please. Okay, we are well ahead with the platform. We have decided who is going to be the contractor. We are having a meeting on Friday to discuss the details of the contractor, and we expect the 1st of July to start the process and have delivered various phases of the project from now until the end of January, when we will have the final handing over of the platform and being active and functional in between. So next slide, please. This is what I wanted to present to you about the PANTERA platform. And obviously the activities we have started from day one of the project, but as you can appreciate, this has taken a long time, but hopefully this will be with us and helping us through the process in the years ahead. And the last slide is just thanking you for listening to me about this. You will hear a lot more about IRI in the months and years ahead, hopefully. And I'm sure this will be of great help to all of us. This is what I wanted to say about the platform, and we will have a chance to discuss now in the next roundtable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Venizelos. Just I guess there was one question to the audience regarding if they are interested to join the regional desks and the Pantera or IRI platform.
That's correct, and we would like to, from what you have heard and from what we have set up to now, it is of critical importance that stakeholders and research and innovation, active research and innovation stakeholders show interest to be part of either the regional desks that we operate or join our platform as and when this is going to be operational and be active contributor to the various activities around it. So please give your opinion about that, and hopefully we will grow stronger in the days and months ahead. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to be of help to you as well. Thank you. Yeah, so I think,
Christina?
Yeah, please.
Yes, it's Isabel speaking. Sorry to interrupt. We would like to say goodbye because we have to leave for a meeting in 8 minutes, another one. Sorry, but thank you very much for inviting us. And we are available by email to if anyone has any additional question or doubts.
Thank you very much, Isabel and Fernando, for being with us. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon and see you soon. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. Now I think I will hand over to Luciano to take over managing this last round table.
Okay. Thank you very much, Venizelos. And welcome everyone to this roundtable number 2 of this first Pantera virtual workshop. My name is Luciano Martini. I hope you can hear me well. I'm with RSC. RSC is a national research center based in Milano, Italy. I'm also the coordinator of the joint program on smart grids of the ERA, European Energy Research Alliance. We as ERA JP on smart grid are supporting TIPSNet and other initiatives across Europe. We represent 16 countries who have more than 40 participants, and we provide experts to be engaged in the working groups of the TIPSNet, and also we are trying to give a contribution during governing board meeting, providing input from the research organization side, that means research centers and academia and university, especially about low TRL and long-term perspective of research and innovation. Okay, so thank you for being with us. Today we are starting with about 14 minutes of delay. I hope we can catch up with the time, not to keep you longer than expected. And the title of our table is Teaming with TIPSNet and Bridge in Enhancing the Evaluation Process of Project in Support of R&I Priority Roadmap. And today we have the pleasure to have some special guests, some good friends and some experts in the field. And would like to thank Michela Marasco and Nikos Arzagirio for being with us. Michela Marasco is very well known in the field. She works as a policy officer in DG Energy of the European Commission, especially in the unit Innovation, Clean Technology and Competitiveness. And she's leading activity and initiative on fostering innovation in the areas of grids and the energy system. She's representing the European Commission in several governing boards and executive committees, including, of course, the TIPSNet and ISGAN, the International Smart Grid Action Network. And she's an expert in new funding instrument, has a long-standing experience in supporting innovation in multiple sectors. I would like to add that many of us had the opportunity to work with her and for her and the Commission, and we acknowledge her commitment and effort toward the development and releasing of a new research innovation roadmap 2020-2030 and the related implementation plan 2021 and 2024. So this is, thank you, Michela, for being with us.
Hello, thank
now,
you very much,
maybe I introduce. Thank you for
I'd
being
like
with
to
us.
introduce Nikos.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and then the second speaker is a special guest, is Nikos Hatzagiriou. I feel not very comfortable to introduce somebody who's very well known in the field and very know about the activity he was performing. Nevertheless, I try to do my best. He's a full professor in power system at the National Technical University of Athens and TUA. He was chair and chief executive officer of the largest distribution network operator in Greece, EDNO. He was the chair and is currently the vice chair of TIPSNet and also co-chair of the new task force of Bridge on RNI priorities. If you look at his background, his skill is quite impressive. He has been involved in many RNI projects, more than 60, and he was included among the people that is most highly cited in the world, in our field. And when you look at the statistic of a citation index, you really get impressed. Congratulations, Nikos. I hope you have connected and you can say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Luciano, for this introduction.
Thank you. My welcome. And my pleasure as well. So Mohamed will be assisting us during the roundtable that is supposed to last about 1 hour. We have a few questions that will be addressed by our guests, but will be also a question that will also be posed through the Glisser polling tool to all the audience. I'm very glad to see that we still have more than 50 participants today, and this is of course a very good number for Pantera, and we are happy about this successful workshop in the previous session, of course. So Mohamed, please go to the next slide. So I would like to start having the very knowledgeable people. The first question is for Michela, so we can address this question and the contribution from Nikos later on. So the first question is about the identified challenges and which way the newly formed Task Force on Bridge RNI Priorities plans to contribute in quantitatively identifying priorities utilizing project results. Of course, the bridge is very important in the eye of the Commission. We know that it's important to share knowledge, at least among families of projects, in order to advance faster, to accelerate research and innovation, not repeat same activities. So please, Michela, can you please elaborate on this question number one?
Yes, first, well, let me first say hello to everybody. I'm really happy to be able to address to you with you and talk to you this afternoon at today's event. You have heard already a lot in terms of Commission priorities, and you have had chances to reflect on the Green Deal together with the colleagues, the JRC colleagues, and with a question which were asked to the audience. So I will not, let's say, repeat any of these messages. However, I would like maybe to insist of some work that we are doing in the context of the European Green Deal, and it goes very much in the direction of what we are trying to do with Bridge, which I would like to call the task force, which is a joint task force, Bridge and ETIPSNet on RNI priorities. First of all, this is in the context of the European Green Deal, because we consider that in this context, we need a new strategic approach to clean energy technologies in order to achieve our objective, but also to take fully advantage, to reap the competitive advantage of the clean energy transition. So the advantage that Europe has to be reinforced. And with this in mind, we are working with key partners, such as the ETIPSNet and Bridge, within and without, let's say, the new Bridge and ETIPS-Net RNI task force. So the task force has been set up to support some of the talking to the different, let's say, stakeholders and interacting with key partners. As you said, and you mentioned before, Luciano, the ETIPS-Net has recently produced a very interesting RNI roadmap, which covers, let's say, RNI priority in the energy system area for a period of 10 years. And then a more, let's say, manageable in terms of time frame implementation plan that really looks at supporting the identification of RNI priorities for the upcoming years, for the next 3-4 years. And this is really, let's say, the idea is to help the Commission, but also national institution, and why not private partners in selecting, let's say, the priority which better support what we're trying to do here, which means also to dramatically increase the large-scale deployment and demonstration of new technology, and so bringing them also close to the market and support their uptake. Because as we heard and as we see with the Green Deal, but also as I like to always highlight, the green recovery that we are working on, what is absolutely necessary is speed, in a sense. So really the idea that RNI can support, can underpin the work that we're doing, and can really bring us to leap, let's say, towards our objectives. So what is the work which is very relevant here of this task force? We have this task force to look at project results, because we think that obviously we are not going to reinvent the wheel, and we absolutely need to build on what are the ongoing projects that have been judged particularly valuable, which are funded, and that they're now just starting, or have just recently brought results. So the idea is to look at what are those results, in a sense, reassess where we stand in terms of research and innovation, and understand what advancements are to be expected. So in a sense, this work is going to underpin the RNI investments that we intend to propose, for example. And let's say are going to also work more in detail on how to advise on what are the innovations which are, let's say, the closest to the market, or which are the most promising, and so on. So this is for us, I would like to say, an important brick in building the whole house, which allow us to correctly prioritize RNI and also the RNI funding, which are going with it.
Thank you very much, Michela, for summarizing in a very few minutes the importance and the scope and the objectives of the new task force of Bridge on RNI priorities, and also recalling the effort that has been made by the ETIPS-Net in releasing these two important documents. I would like to say to the participant that we are glad to receive comments and questions from your side. We expect to have a short Q&A session at the end. Nevertheless, if there are some specific burning questions, we can try to address after each contribution from the two guests. But now, saying thank you to Michela, I would like to move, thank you, Mohamed, to the next question, question number 2, where we identify something that is, of course, very important, and we have the pleasure to ask to somebody that is in the best position to really make this answer as a first glance. So how the task force of Bridge RNI priorities can be effectively linked to the activity of ETIPS-Net that generates the 10-year RNI roadmap and implementation plan. Please, Nikos, I know you kindly prepare a contribution to answer to these questions. So Mohamed can put on the screen your slide and you can start. Please, Nikos.
Thank you very much, Luciano. First of all, let me say that personally, from ETIPS-Net point of view, I'm very happy to participate in this new task force on research and innovation priorities. I think this is really very important work. So in order to be able to quantify the results so far and see where we stand. And as Michela said, for the Commission to be able to reassess its position and put perhaps better priorities or see gaps and design better its research agenda. And together with my colleagues who are co-leading this work, who are Nuno Silva and Antonello Monti, we have already prepared some slides that show the link between what has been done in ETIPSNet and how we see the link with this new task force. And so let me just show both of them quickly because I know time is passing. So next slide, please. So this slide perhaps is quite well known. It shows the European Green Deal and the main pillars for the towards sustainable future and the leaving no one behind, and the various policies that, if you look at the policies, you can see the energy-related key aspects and the implications. So all of these policies have a number of energy-related aspects, and these are summarized here. So if we go further, in the next slide, we can see that these are the European Green Deal policies. This is written again here, European Green Deal policies, and what are the various phrases you have seen in this that really are related to energy. So energy systems are quite key, quite important for realizing the Green Deal policies. And then if we look at the Vision 2050 that ETIPSNet has produced, we can identify the basic building blocks, which is the efficient use of energy, the infrastructure for integrated energy systems, markets, digitalization as enabler, and efficient organization of the energy system. And then in the next right-hand side of the slide, you see the required functionalities of the energy systems in the 2050, which is really all these characteristics that the energy system should have in order to be able to function, in order to become as we envision them to be. And so without going into this long list, if you go to the next slide, you can see that in order to reach all these functionalities, which is written here, we need to provide research and innovation. And this research and innovation has been grouped in a number of research areas. And just let me spend some time here to say that these are the consumer and citizen energy communities, economics, digitalization, and then 3 areas that are relevant to the power system, energy systems, rather, which is the planning, holistic planning of the system, the operation of the system, and how you enable flexibility. Because in order to make the system operate with such large amounts of renewable energies, you need flexibility. So it's very important to see how this can be enabled by the various factors of it. So based on these research areas, the roadmap has produced a number of research topics. And you see, for instance, the research area of consumers, we foresee social campaigns, adaptive behavior of consumers, device control of consumers. For economics, you see business models and market and governance, digitalization, a number of activities, protocol standardization, data communication, data information management, platforms, etc., cybersecurity and privacy, end-to-end architecture. For planning, we need integrated energy system architectures, long-term planning, asset management, stability analysis. For demand flexibility, we need demand generation, storage, networks, and transport. And for system operation, you need all the functions to supervise and control the system for short-term, medium-term, for preventive control, restoration, and control center technologies. So these are specific sub-areas that we need to develop. If you go to the next slide, you can see that these research topics are very well linked with the Green Deal policies that can be probably summarized or perhaps grouped in 3 major pillars, which is first to prioritize energy efficiency and develop a power sector largely based on renewables. And this is very well aligned the research area 1, about consumers. The second one was about secure and affordable energy supply. And this is very well linked to system economics. Then you need a fully integrated, interconnected, and digitalized European energy market, which is well aligned with the third priority, research area, which was digitalization. And then you have a mixture of functionalities, a mixure of tasks, topics in the other areas that are mainly related to the system that can serve all these needs. So we think that the way the topics and the sub-areas have been formed in the research areas of EUSEW are very well linked to the European Green Deal policies. And this provides really a link of how, by building research in these areas, we can serve the original policies of the European Green Deal. And so I'm very happy now, together with my colleagues, to participate in this task force, where we can see really in more detail all these several sub-areas and see what is missing there, what's already done, how we can quantify the results so far. And that's the idea. So I think it's a very interesting and rewarding work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikos. I think you managed very well to show the key assets within this activity. I would like to mention that personally, I believe that it's very, very important that the Bridge new task force is linked to a TIPSNet. I would like also to make a little joke, say that, as we said, the European Green Deal is leaving no one behind, and the TIPSNet lead no one important R&I topics behind. So all of them are very well covered. I'm very satisfied about the outcome from the work. Also because TIPSNet, we didn't mention before because it's very well known, but is incorporating, is getting the input from all grid stakeholders across Europe. So we have all the representatives from transmission system operator, distribution system operator, association dealing with storage, consumers, and generation from renewables and conventional sources. So because of this collective work, we were able to end up with a roadmap. It's really comprehensive and covering all the topics, fully in line with the climate neutrality that is the core and the basis of a European Green Deal. So thank you. I don't know.
Sorry, just let me say just thank you for mentioning that, because I also believe that the TIPSNet main added value is that it provides consolidated stakeholder views of many stakeholders, of all stakeholders in the energy sector. And I think that's its biggest added value.
Yeah.
Discuss its proposals.
Yeah, thank you, Nikos. This is the strength of the TIPSNet governing board and involve the people in the different working groups. I believe that we were also capable to include different new topics that were not present in the previous roadmap, for example, like sector coupling or advanced digitalization of the system. So I think you did a very good job, and the supervision of the European Commission was really pushing us forward to include the most important topic to be tackled. So thank you. I think the two speakers will be so kind to accept one or two questions. I don't know if at this time you have a specific question you want to raise to Michaela or to Nikos. If not, we move on with the next question. Please raise your hand and make your question if you like.
Maybe you could also
yes, do we have a glister also of these first two questions?
So
let me check.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, so please remember that through the glister you can make your own voting session. And Mohammed, if you agree, maybe we are eager to see the reply from the audience, so maybe we can move on to the glister part. So please join the conversation. Please make your comment. And maybe we can move to this side. Please, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question that we prepare for involving you as a participant to this roundtable. So you know that you are very knowledgeable. Probably most of you have been engaged in several RNI projects and different consortia. So you know how they work, and you know which are the project's outcomes. And as been properly said by Michela, the Bridge new task force is really focusing on the result projects. And we would like to know from you, by using the Glisser polling tools, which is you believe is very, or the most important point. So we prepare 3 major questions you would like to reply. We are thinking that when you have a new European project in the initial phase, let's say in the first 6 months, for example, we believe it could be important to make a market evaluation for positioning the foreseen key exploitable results of the project. So which is your view on this? Do you think that this is important, very important, extremely important, for example? So please rank from 1 to 5, being 5 the most important for you. We would like to allow you maybe 30 seconds or even 1 minute for you to be able to read again the question and make your selection. So please vote for this from ranking from 1 to 5. And then Mohamed, maybe we can make the 3 questions in a row and then show at the end of the 3 questions the final results. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So please make your choice. The second question is related to the need in the initial phase of a project to clearly define, if you don't have it, or even develop suitable KPIs for a seen key exploitable results to be achieved, in order to be sure that during the project you are able to monitor if the project is advancing properly towards those key exploitable results that in the end will be what will be the outcome from your project. So is that to you is very important, or that in that case you put 4 or 5? If this is not so important as compared to other aspects related to RNI project, please put 1 or 2, so lower value. Please, I'm not voting, I voted for the other Glisser. Now I'm speaking and maybe prefer to concentrate on the question, but please do it as a participant, please. Okay. So then the third question that we are posing to you is do you believe that it is important to identify the whole innovation process governing the different phases of a project evolution? So this is just for you to have a compass, to have an idea and the strategy of evolution of a project, take into account for the upcoming results, the obtaining results, in order to plan for maybe the second phase of the project, take into account already what was available in the initial phase. So these give you some possibility to adopt a flexible strategy in your project, of course targeting the same objective you identify at the very beginning, but with the flexibility to deserve some more attention to some of maybe of an unexpected result, for example. So please rate again and make your ranking from 1 to 5 if you believe this is another important action to be taken at the very beginning of the general national or European RNI project. Okay, I think I'm quite curious to know how was the reply from the participants and how they estimate the importance of 3 different questions. So I can see that we have received a very high score for the question number 1, that also looking how the results and the outcome from the project need to be really proposed to people that can use in the real grid and maybe becoming a valuable product for a market. So you rate very high, 3.8 out of 5. And Mohamed, please feel free to intervene or comment the results, since you are very familiar with this polling exercise. We did it together several times in Dublin and other places, so don't worry about intervening and making your comment if you like.
No,
The same, of course, for the guests.
So I guess I would be happy to hear the guests' comments about that.
Yes.
So
okay, so Michela, are you surprised by these results, or you feel very comfortable because it means people believe the outcome of each project should be tailored to receive some or achieve some market share and some practical use?
Actually, for me, it's a big relief, actually, and sort of a big confirmation of, they say, the quality and the like-mindedness between us when we set this priority and the projects and the project promoters and the people who actually work in this research and innovation projects. We find this very important. Actually, there are some recent calls in which we have specified that this should be an essential part of a project, on the project which are a proposal which are made. We also highlighted in several cases that we would like maybe an estimation on, what would then be needed to bring a certain solution to the market, because we understand that we're not looking at R&I project which then necessarily deliver results which are market ready. In some cases will be a higher TRL, or would be a different type of deliverable. But for us, it's this evaluation of what is needed to make this from a demonstration to an actual reality is also something which is very valuable for us.
Very good, Michela. Congratulations to the Pantera team that prepared this first question. Are you, Nikos, maybe in a position to make a comment yourself, or maybe not?
I can't say something more than I support that, of course. I think it's very important. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, let's see the result. Thank you, Nikos. We all agree that this is an important parameter and topic. Okay, then the second question was about developing suitable KPIs. These also receive a very high attention, so it's very highly important to define at the very beginning like a metric that allows you to rate the result that you are achieving in the process of executing your project. So very good. Michela, again, maybe you have a view, or maybe Nikos could start first.
Yeah, that's also very important. I agree with the overall evaluation. We know that you cannot really assess something, you cannot measure it. You need KPIs. I'm not sure you can define, of course, general KPIs for every project, but at least we must have some basic KPIs. So I think it's important.
I would like to add that we are getting more and more familiar in defining KPI or suitable KPIs for our project. We started with some exercise 4 or 5 years ago. It was a kind of difficult, but now having this experience, I think is possible, not always, but most of the time. And this helped very much the evaluator of the project to see if a project is on track and making the good progress as expected. Michela, any further comment, or you are okay in moving forward?
No, I fully agree with Nikos and with the respondents to this question about the, let's say, the importance of setting the KPIs. Maybe what I would also like to stress is that it's important to set probably specific KPIs, which is, some projects will have to set themselves objective on the basis of also what they expect to achieve. So this is something that, as I said, we already maybe explore in some of the call, leaving this as a possibility. So rather than setting general ones, also setting some specific one on the basis of what are the expectation for the individual actions.
Yeah, I would like to add my personal experience. And in the past, as I said, we started this exercise in defining KPIs for a specific project. We were making very appropriate KPI, but sometimes we put some KPI that was out of the control of the project, like promoting additional R&I investment in your country. Of course, a project cannot influence more than a little bit the strategy of the country. So this was not a KPI under the control of the project, so we miss it. but when we define suitable KPI, is really helpful for the coordinator, for the commission, and so on, to really rate the success of the project. So, very good. Okay, so we have a last result from the third question, I guess. So important to identify. This also received a very high score, 3.8 out of 5. And of course, this is part of a strategy you have to define at the very beginning of your project, according to the available resources, according to the skills and the expertise you get in your consortia from the knowledgeable party and partners you have on board. This was very much expected. It's more familiar to people that is involved in European project or national project. So no doubt that this is important. I totally agree. Michela and Nikos, any further comment on this result from the polling question?
Here, the emphasis is the innovation and the processes.
It's more like defining which are your innovation steps according to your Gantt chart, according to your program of work, but also to follow the project evolution, to drive the project evolution towards the final goals and targets.
Yeah, okay.
And I think is very important. Yes. Okay, I'm very glad. I think there was a kind of very general consensus about the reply. I couldn't vote, but I would have been very much in line with the outcome that we saw now on screen. Thank you, Mohamed, for sharing this online and real time. That was very much appreciated. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we still have a few minutes to go, so maybe I will come to the last question for this roundtable. And as I said, we will open for a Q&A session at the end. So we know that PANTERA is making a nice, important effort in defining the functionality, the scope, and setting up a new platform. I'm saying a new platform that, but with the goal to be fully linked with other existing platforms. That is really important, to coordinate with other platforms, to link to other platforms, in order to really have a place where information can be gathered, a place where information can be downloaded and searched. So I'm asking to both Michele and Nikos, what do you think will be the supporting role that you foresee for the ERI platform in the selection of R&I priorities and also in enhancing the exploitation of European or national project results? Please.
Thank you, Luciano. Let's see that the platform that PANTERA has been developing and which is now even, let's say, fully developing and integrating or connecting with the other existing platform is for us a very important step. We actually found ourselves at DGNR having a discussion with the PANTERA consortium and with other the other stakeholders and honestly the other owner of very, very interesting platform in the area of smart energy systems, smart grids, storage. And our question has been, how can we avoid to continue this proliferation of platforms which are all very interesting? They all look maybe at at a certain angle, but don't at the end there's so many that it is difficult for the public to navigate, and it's even difficult for us so policymakers and policy officers to really understand what's going on and follow them all. So the idea was really to try to build on what already exists and create this one-stop shop for knowledge sharing and management in the smart related to smart energy system. So this is it has exactly this role of strengthening the access to knowledge, which we think is absolutely necessary also not just in terms of exploitation of project results, but also for researchers and innovators who then are thinking of what should they focus next to have more awareness of what already exists. And yes, because we have been able to really put together and link all this initiative, or we will in the future, we've at least got in contact with quite a few, we really see an added value in centralizing all this knowledge. As it happens for the work which is done within the ETIPS net and Bridge, and has the work which is done with other stakeholders, we're in direct contact, we do believe that the information which is gathered through the platform, the ERI platform, is also going to very much support the evidence base that we need for the setting of RNI priorities. We are trying to be, and I'm talking about the future Horizon Europe, but I think we can talk about a lot of other EU programs which have a bearing on RNI or that includes RNI actions. So I'm thinking also of the Innovation Fund, LIFE, InvestEU. What we're trying to, in a sense, professionalize further the way we approach the priorities identified and try to really underpin it with a very strong knowledge base, which comes from what we have done already, and which comes from, let's say, a variety of the work, for example, of the task force or other type of work which has done to give us real evidence. So the PANTERA platform, making sure that we can access more easily and more readily information about the available project result is going to support this process.
Yes, I totally agree, Michela. On top of that, we have to say that if you have a proliferation of platform, there is also a not efficient approach because all of them need to be maintained, and this is costly and maybe not efficient at all. So the approach is right, and we, as PANTERA team, will do our best to make this platform a link to existing platform in order to give an added value to the user in sharing knowledge about ongoing project and their specific results. Thank you.
Yes, and then as Venizelos also managed, was highlighting before, we also wanted to make sure that we gave sustainability. I think that a lot of you have already experienced, within a project that you have incredible result, incredible platform, incredible communication, but then what do you do afterwards? It's very difficult to maintain, or it's just up to the willing and funding of certain partners and so on. So what we wanted to make sure is that by bringing everything together, we can also really give it more sustainability.
Yeah, this is very important. Nikos, do you want to add your view, your comment on this platform, and maybe since it will be linked to Bridge, but also to a TipsNet results and so on? Please.
Sure. Not much to add. I think I fully agree, of course, with Michela. She said it all very well. But I also recognize a high value of the PANTERA platform, of the ERI platform, as a link of all the active platforms and centralizing all this knowledge. And I was very happy to see the slide shown by Venizelos before, that he had an arrow collecting the RNI needs and the maturity indices, and all the information in the various steps. And then he had a link to the roadmap of TipsNet and the implementation plans. So we do need to update the implementation plans every 3 years. And the ones we are preparing as TipsNet, and this information from such platform would be very useful to be able to really have an objective view of what is going on in all projects. So that's very, very useful work. I fully agree.
Very good. Thank you, Michela. Thank you, Nikos. I think we are perfectly on time. So as was anticipated at the very beginning, we can now open a short question and answer session where people still connected, we have 47 people still on the line, can raise a question to any of you. I prepare 1 or 2 questions myself, but of course, this is something that I can ask at a different time. So is anyone having maybe a comment or a question to Michela and Nikos about everything that has been explained about the Bridge Task Force, the TipsNet, RNI priorities as a main topic? Mohamed, are you suggesting that we have to reply to a Glisser question as well?
Yes, or also if someone would facing some problems with Glisser, for sure, yeah, they could open their mic and ask the question directly. It's okay.
Yeah,
well, I think Luciano, we can start from the Glisser, and if anyone wants to come through.
Very good. I was also mentioning that in case we run out of time and we cannot reply to any of the questions, will be our duty to reply by a message to the people trying to give our answer to the question. So if you see here the glisser, and maybe you want to make your comment in here and your question, and then this will be taken by Nikos and Michaela. So I see the first one. Mohamed, do you want to read it and make it clear to everyone?
Okay. So I guess the first one was about the funding governments, and I guess this was mainly focusing on the roundtable, which was previously introduced.
Exactly. I think so.
So as we don't have speakers,
the speakers anymore. Yeah.
I don't know whether Christina, do you want to comment on that or say something?
I think that this is covered by the last statement from Isabel and Fernando, and the main deficiency, the weaknesses that some regions appear can be, of course, alleviated through process like PANTERA initiative and ERI platform.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see if there is a question from our guests. So the second question is about, are there any instrument or direct requirement to align, for example, NESP's and 2050 roadmaps to S3 strategy and their implementation? Is maybe Michaela glad or feel comfortable to reply to this question?
I can try. I mean, there's definitely some elements which I'm more familiar with, or I can say more about, and others which I at least have an understanding of. So I think really strong. I don't think there is a direct. I mean, here it says I ask about instruments or direct requirement. Maybe this would be a bit of a more of a strong wording, but definitely there is what we're trying to do also, for example, in the context of the NECPs, and probably the colleagues from JRC can even say more about that, especially the link with the S3 strategies. What we're trying to do is maybe from our assessment, the Commission assessment, they often go back to the member state, trying to highlight, let's say, other complementary aspects that needed to be considered. So, you know, if you know how the process works, and when the Commission had the opportunity to go back to the member state, was exactly to clarify and try to align some of the elements is as well with regard to RNI, actually. So it's our part 5 of the NCPs. We were trying to align, or at least to point to our member state when maybe an extra effort could be considered to meet certain objective, or where there were elements which were not necessarily fully covered. It does finally remain, let's say, national commitments, but we've seen that this approach has paid for some of the elements. I do not know if this is also happening for the SC strategies. But I can imagine that there is some sort of alignment, especially, you know, in terms of negotiation, or looking at let's say regional collaboration for the coming years.
Thank you, Michaela. I think you addressed it very well. Nikos, maybe you want to complement?
Not really.
Were you
I'm
asking
not,
for?
really.
Not really. Okay.
Luciano, if I can say one word about this. Yeah, one word about this S3 and the next and the national priorities.
Yes.
Inherently, S3 should be related to national strategies, priorities, because they are the strengths of regions, and so the strengths of regions should inherently be part of the national strategies. Now, if they are not, then it means that they didn't do adequately the alignment at national level. But I totally agree with Michaela that both of them should be this interaction and this and this way of pushing from Brussels side to align the national and regional activities to the overall strategies of Europe. This is correct. I totally agree with that approach. Yeah.
Very well. Thank you, Venizelos, for this comment. We have another question. Then, as I said, I would like to ask something. Is there any generalized common project evaluation and technology evaluation method that the European Commission follows at the end of a project that are funded by European Commission? Michela, do you feel comfortable to make a reply?
Yes, I can say maybe something, and this also comes from the work that we are doing with our counterparts in DG RTD, for example. So for many, as you probably all are aware of, actually, project needs eventually to present a sort of exploitation plan, or how they will use
as well.
Exactly the results after the end of the project. So this is normally part of the process implementation, when this needs to be presented possibly with a decent level of detail. I think there is room for improvement from both sides, from the side of the project, who maybe takes this as really the last steps when they're already focusing on how to bring forward some of the outputs, and so maybe they're not that focused on that, and also from DC, which have not necessarily had the capacity yet to valorize this very much. But this is also why we are trying to let's have a bit of a start with the work that we are doing, the framework, as I said, of this task force, for example, or in the framework of the ETIPS Net and Bridge, also individually. As a commission, we are trying to ask them to give us a hand with the idea then that we can spill this over to project and build maybe a stronger process. So a process exists, but we do have a lot of ideas on how to maybe make it more effective, or to push it even forward.
I like your idea, Michela, because it's something very important, and make it stronger, this approach, but also not to leave it at the very end of a project when everybody is busy in releasing the last deliverable. This is something that should be done with the needed time, maybe 1 year before the project is ending. So maybe it's a process that needs a longer time. That is a possibility. Okay.
Yes, I think this is also a bit of the feedback we have got, and I think maybe from a parent DG, as we call ourselves, so we might not necessarily manage project directly. This is done through the agency, but in our interaction with the agency is also a matter of we do stress this one. And for example, when we have the opportunity, whether through our colleagues in the agency or directly, whenever we can, to, let's say, has a few words maybe during the induction meeting of projects or later on, we do normally stress this aspect.
Very good. I have a question in mind that I think you can give back a quick reply to me, and is about next steps. We didn't mention that the task force or RNI priority is still quite new. There were 3 task force in Bridge before, then the last one was added after the approval of the General Assembly. So which will be the next needed step of this task force, and how PANTERA consortium and the platform can be of use and of help in these next steps? This is the same question to Michela and to Nikos, and then we can close the roundtable.
You want to start?
So maybe Nikos, if you want to start as a co-chair of a task force, which are the foreseen next steps toward a link with the TIPSnet, and maybe support from PANTERA?
Yeah, as I said, this is a very new task force. It's just starting, and at the beginning we are trying to collect information and try to provide quantification of various priorities or various areas that the Commission has already started preparing some theses. So
yes.
I think this is not something that will finish once we complete this first part. There will be, first, it requires quite a lot of effort to collect all this information. And so far, we are planning this work. So we are going to circulate a questionnaire to the members of the task force very soon, even in the very few coming days, to collect some feedback on projects they are involved, and especially trying to see numbers, to see quantification of results based on some general, let's say, KPIs, or even project-specific KPIs. So we can provide at least a range of achievements that have been achievements so far, so we can see the next steps and see the maturity of each of the various areas, and of course identify gaps. I think so. In that sense, as we also discussed before, the link with PANTERA is very obvious. PANTERA will fit in this work by its platform, and also ETIPSNet is also, of course, very interested to provide this, to receive this input in order to prepare better and updated roadmaps and implementation plans. So, as I said, I don't think this is a work that can finish in the next months. It's an ongoing process that always we need to update and to better evaluate where we stand and where we have to go next. So, at least as I see it, that Michela knows better than me, that as I see
Yes,
it,
no,
this does not end tomorrow. It has still.
Of course, it needs time.
I agree. I think I can say
effort.
that, Nikos. That won't end tomorrow. Yes, if I can just build, I fully subscribe to everything that Nico said, and for us, it's also, as I said, it's a long-term process to really help us underpin with facts the way we develop our programs, for example. So in terms of maybe deciding to set a call for Horizon Europe in a certain topic or setting on another, I think we are also going to use these facts as help. So what is the impact? How many megawatts that represent? What are we going to have at the end? What is the concrete contribution it is going to make towards our goals and targets? So this type of work is also going to really strengthen and underpin the decisions which are taken.
Very good, Michela. I'm just wondering, are you going to collect this information from ongoing project or also recently accomplished project in, for example, Horizon 2020 or maybe even back in the past? I'm asking this because I remember that EUSEW for the TSO related European project was asking to external people to make a list of achievements of the 70 European projects. This was done, so maybe EUSEW now could be willing to share the outcome from this analysis, and you can start building up this knowledge that you need to share with the other participants.
Well, I think at least the task force is collecting information from recently and from recent projects, and I mean, not even for some years now. And that's been also an exercise done by EUSEW and also by EUSEW. EUSEW, the DSOs have done this work, and I have, of course, access to this. And then ETIPSNet itself has published quite a good report on more than 120 projects that were evaluated, and somehow they describe what they did. Unfortunately, numbers are many times missing. You have some more descriptive, more qualitative evaluation. You don't have really quantification. I think this is really what we need now, to be more specific of what good or very good or excellent means. We need, we need numbers. We need how many megawatts, how many euros, how much CO2, this type of indices to be able to better evaluate what is happening. Although, again, this is not this absolute, but at least relatively you need to know under which conditions some things can be achieved.
Thank you, Nikos, for sharing the difficulties of this task force. And I think you're right, having numbers so you can really make a quantitative analysis. And we are, of course, available to support in case of need. I can see one final question on the screen, but I also see at the time, and we are supposed to close now. I don't know if you, Michaela, want to have a very quick answer, or you prefer just to stop the roundtable here?
So how the NSCP RNI priorities are considered in Green Deal plan? Does it mean the priority identified in the NSCPs, or what is the? I'm not sure I fully grasp the question.
Yeah, is not clear if the identify RNI priority are considered.
So I'm not 100% sure, but what I can say that RNIs, as you heard from Statis, as you heard from the colleagues, is absolutely at the center of the Green Deal. When we are looking, so the NSCP is well, as you know, is actually embedded in regulation. So for us, is an absolute clear tool of priority setting, also in our interaction with member states. And I would like to add that if you think, for example, of the recovery plan, where the role of member states, the possibility to invest in structural upgrades, in a sort of structural reforms, is very much at the center. I think this will also be, let's say, come together and be connected by this green recovery plan.
Very good. I think it's the time to close the roundtable. I would like to thank the speakers, the two special guests who are with us. So thank you for your active participation, Nikos. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you to all participants for staying with us till the very end. And I would like now to give the floor to Venizelos for this successful Pantera workshop to make some closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Luciano, from your side as well, for helping this roundtable to succeed its objectives. And of course, to Mohammed, who has been supporting this all the way throughout this workshop that we had, which is virtual, but still very lively and very interactive in some ways. And of course, I would like to thank the guests that we had with us, which have supported everything throughout this afternoon to make it a successful workshop. But of course, also a big thank you to the 46 heroes that are still with us, and they have stayed with us until this moment. We have been around 60 at some point, but of course, staying 46 for 3 hours, listening and participating and responding to questions, I think is a very good number to have for this workshop that we had. And for us, I think we have completed the objectives of the project. I'm not going to go into the details of what we have discussed, heard, and responded, because this will come, a complete report will be put together by our team, and this will be shared by all the participants. And so you will receive the responses, the answers, the presentations, but also some bullet points of what has been discussed during the roundtable discussions, questions and answers about what we have heard. And all this will come to you hopefully shortly, within let's say the end of next week. Probably we will have it ready and send it to you. And for us, it was a very good afternoon because we have heard from the guests that they see quite a lot of good progress for what the Pantera is promising to give back through the work that we are doing. The fact that it's being acknowledged that ERI will be a one-stop shop that is absolutely necessary and is centralizing the knowledge and is evidence for future research and innovation of work that is around, is something that can contribute, and it will contribute in this direction. That it is something that that the Commission is trying to make it sustainable, because they consider it as well as an absolute need for tomorrow. This for us is very important messages that we're getting out of this workshop, which is very strong. It gives us a lot of strength to move forward with what we are doing, and certainly the cooperation that we have built together with JRC, the ETIPSnet, and the people around it, Bridge and the people around it, but also with the S3 experts and the people around it, and how we are working with regions and how we are trying to mobilize stakeholders to support this process, together with the working teams that we are working closely with ETIPSnet on this, is something that we would like to promise that we will continue. This is something that we will definitely put more effort into in order to make really contribute to the what we will deliver through the ERI platform, and to all and have it accessible and useful for the research and innovation community in Europe. With this, I would like to conclude this workshop. Thank you very much for being an active participant to this workshop, and we will definitely keep in touch and stay close to what ERI is doing, and hopefully, if you have indicated that you will be interested to be active in the regional work and in being active within our platform, we will definitely come back to you and give more support, communicate more with you. Thank you very much for being with us, and of course all the active participants in this, and we had contributions from Stathis Pedeves, Michele Marasco, Nikos Hadjiarghiriou, Isabella Signer, Fernando Merida Martin, Luciano, who was coordinated just now, Christina, who was coordinated before, and of course Mohammed, who has been very active in behind the scenes, or sometimes on the scene. And thank you very much all.
Thank you very much to you, Venizelos. Thank you to Christina and Mohamed, a strong team from Pantera. Have a nice evening. Thank you for organizing this workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.